Hey guys, coming up on today's podcast, we're talking all about the brain. Things that we do that can impact our brain health, and these are everyday things that a lot of people are actually doing, unwittingly impacting their brain in a negative way. So we're going to talk all about that, and then we're actually going to talk about really great brain foods that you can incorporate into your diet, and then some great herbs and some nutrients that can really help to repair a lot of the damage you've done to your brain and also protect it. So stay tuned.
Absolutely.
Hey guys, welcome to the ATP Project. You're with your hosts, Nic and Steve.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Steve?
Good. You feeling good today? Feeling
great.
Alert?
All over it, Steve.
How's your brain today?
It's there.
It's there?
Yeah,
It's
pretty
good?
sure it's there.
Because we're talking about brain today.
We are talking all about the brain. What do we do to our brains that can damage it?
Yeah.
What can we do to our brains to protect it?
Yeah.
Keep it healthy?
Yep.
So,
And it's funny because what we're not going to talk about today is things like heavy drinking, real bad for your brain. Everyone knows it, blah, blah, blah. Head injuries, bad for your brain. We're talking about things that we're doing unwittingly. We are physically damaging our brain, not just like short-term, I've got a bit of brain fog. This is really damaging your brain.
yeah.
So there's lots of things we can do to damage your brain. But the good news is, Nic, you're a naturopath, Nicole Brown Naturopathy. You can talk about how to fix the brain, how to heal the brain, usually using herbal medicines. We've got some nutrients in here as well.
Yeah.
But also things that actually get in the brain. And we're going to talk about herbs that actually cross the blood-brain barrier, which is a big barrier that keeps the body from the brain. And there's only selective things that cross that. So, you know, there's herbs that are great for your brain. Some of them you know and some of them you may not know, but some of them are absolutely amazing, the research on it.
Yeah, we've got lots of really cool stuff. So, you know, and there seems to be a lot more prevalence of people with issues with their brain, neuroinflammation, you know, brain fog, cognitive dysfunction, and see a lot more in clinic. And I think it's due to a lot of the things that we're going to talk about today that people, you know, may not realise are actually really having a significant impact on their brain.
And I think with the brain, if your brain's healthy, people like you and I exercise, we talk about it daily. And I go to the gym this morning, and I don't think you need to be motivated to go to the gym. I think you need to be disciplined. So I think your brain, if you're not disciplined, your brain's all over the place, you're not going to be able to do things like go to the gym or buy healthy food, go to the shops, get healthy stuff. So it all starts with your brain, and that affects your body as well. So we're sort of talking about the whole body, but we're talking about focusing on the brain today. So I've got a list of things here that have actually been shown to destroy the brain.
Yeah. So I'm going to run off just a few
You go
symptoms
first.
of maybe some brain inflammation or a little bit of, you know, brain that's not as healthy as it could be. So brain fog, as we talked about.
Yep.
Low mood.
Yeah.
Poor memory, concentration issues, fatigue, headaches, digestive disturbances as well. So there is that gut-brain connection.
Yeah.
Increased pain sensitivity.
Yeah.
So, you know, headaches, that type of thing. So there's some other symptoms that could indicate there could be some issues with your brain. That's
absolutely. I mean, we're not sort of talking about mental health like anxiety and those sorts of things. That's other issues with the brain. We're talking about sort of damage to the brain, and that's a good little summary. So what are some of the things that you know that can certainly, you know, damage your brain? Yeah.
So some of the things that are probably more maybe people would think about when you're thinking about brain injuries and things like that, or damage to the brain, inflammation.
Yep.
Traumatic brain injury, as we said, which is interesting because people would think if you've had a traumatic brain injury, it has to be something really significant where you've been knocked out or
car accidents.
Yeah, car accident. It actually doesn't have to be anything like that. It can be mild whiplash from a car accident. Even to the point now, I think in some of the soccer leagues now, they're banning the head ball thing.
Ball thing.
I don't play for soccer.
It's called a header, isn't it?
Header, yeah. So even something like that can actually impact brain health. So a traumatic brain injury, and I have seen clients in clinic that have had a traumatic brain injury. I've probably because I've fallen off horses multiple times over the years when I used to ride.
And you own a shepherd who probably trips you up every 10 seconds.
Exactly. So, you know, even just, you know, falling down and not even falling and hitting your head directly, but falling and then hitting your head, that can actually have a significant impact. So traumatic brain injury doesn't have to be super, super serious. Chronic physical and psychological stress, which is one of the things we're going to talk about, what that actually stress does actually do to the brain, which is really interesting. Exposure to environmental toxins, again, becoming more and more common.
Yeah.
So mycotoxins like molds and things, even heavy metals, that sort of stuff. Viral infections can really impact the brain as well. Autoimmune disease, obesity, metabolic conditions, gut inflammation. Because of their lipopolysaccharide production. As we've said, it can get up into the brain, cross that blood-brain barrier. So that's really common, like really, really common. Different types of foods, and I am going to have a few brain health foods towards the end, so stay tuned for that. Sleep patterns, which we might talk about a little bit as well. Physical inactivity, which we're going to talk about. Prenatal stress and childhood trauma can also affect the microglia. So they're just some of the things outside of probably what we're going to talk about. We'll cover a few of those that can really impact brain health.
It's funny. My first thing was this with brain health was chronic stress.
Yes.
Now stress is, depending on how you react to it, stress is very subjective. What's stressful for you is not for me, and vice versa, and everyone's different. But stress is when you feel out of control of the situation.
Yeah.
Where it's in someone else's hands, and you can't sort of, like a stressful mortgage where you're broke and you've got to pay the bank back, and it's a little bit, you can work harder, but it's a bit out of your hand. So chronic stress. And what they found on MRIs, MRI is a great way to take a picture of your brain. And they found that this part of the brain called the hippocampus shrinks when it comes to chronic stress.
Yes.
So if you're chronic stress, it physiologically changes your brain structure.
Yeah, exactly. So 100%. Can cause atrophy of the brain mass and decrease its weight. Literally shrink your brain. Literally.
Atrophy means shrinking. So they say,
so it affects cognition and memory.
Of course, if your brain's smaller,
completely structural changes to the brain.
Yeah.
So here I've got just a few little ways that stress can affect the brain.
Yes.
So as far as memory, so the main areas involved with this is the hippocampus and the amygdala. So it can cause atrophy and neurogenesis disorders, decreasing dendritic branches, decreasing number of neurons and synaptic terminals, decreasing neurogenesis in the hippocampus, we said, reduction in hippocampus volume. And then it can also affect your cognition and learning. Causing reduced cognition, behavioural changes, things like that. So really quite scary and very significant factors that really impact the brain with stress.
Well, you mentioned three parts, the hippocampus, temporal lobe and the amygdala. And the hippocampus forms new memories. So when you're stressed, you're struggling to think and make new memories and those sorts of things. The temporal lobe is very about your emotions. That's why when people stress, they physiologically change their I'm just stressed, and they yell at you or whatever, some people.
And mood changes, that sort of thing. That
real physiological change of the brain. And that's scary stuff. And that's something we can actually measure, and you've got all the papers there. There's loads of literature on this. So we're not just saying, stress and people. I found people being very proud of being stressed sometimes. I find it. Do you have people like that?
Yes, I do. And it's funny because, back, I think I might have mentioned this in a podcast previously, probably not so much now. I think things have changed post-pandemic, but previously it was like a badge of honour to be, working 12-hour days and pushing it. And I know there's quite a famous actor that used to say, I'm working while everyone else is sleeping, and it's just like I drive.
Who was that?
Will Smith said that.
Oh, Will Smith said that.
It's like, I have an unbreakable work ethic, and I will work 20 hours a day, and which is great, but it's not good for your health, and we already know that now. So I think people sort of use that I work so much, or as a badge of honour, but then along with that comes the stress and the dysfunction in the body that they don't talk about. So
exactly, and working long hours, if you're not stressed about it, might be right if you love your job.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like their job,
no.
and that's a stress. So it's very subjective to people. So really interesting stuff there. I've got another one here. So chronic stress, anxiety. Here's one that you might know about, Nic. Sleep deprivation. Because you own a German Shepherd, don't you?
I do.
Nah, poor thing. But when you sleep, you got to remember that there's this system in your brain, and we'll call it circulation. It's not just circulation, but it's a lymphatic system in your brain. And it's called the glymphatic system.
Yes.
And that, when you go into a deep sleep, it helps clear some of the plaques in your brain. We recorded a podcast yesterday on Alzheimer's. It's come out or not. But the glymphatic system is highly important. We did a podcast exclusively on the glymphatic system and how, when you sleep, your brain literally recovers and cleans itself out.
Yeah.
And so it's absolutely remarkable. And if you're not sleeping for whatever reason, whether it be something, you're partying too much or you're stressed or something like that, it really does screw with you. And I've got family members who do night trading.
Oh, right. Okay.
So they get up every night and trade on the internet.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
I set and then go to work during the day.
Oh, do they? Wow.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll tell you, because I'll tell you afterwards. But can you imagine the physiological stress that's putting you under?
Yes.
Firstly, the stress of gambling your money online. No, I'll call it gambling, but you know what I mean. It's so you're worried about that, and then you're not sleeping. You're physiologically waking up in the middle of the night, setting your alarm, and getting up and going on the internet, blue screens, the whole enchilada. You're too tired to exercise. You're too tired to look after yourself. Their lifestyles have suffered dramatically because of this, and this is really, really sad stuff because that's sort of self-inflicted in a way, but you could just have terrible insomnia, and it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. There's so many sleeping tablets out there. And
it's amazing. And sleep disorders are becoming, again, really prevalent. And I think a lot of it is the modern life.
Yep.
There's so many factors that cause stress, the economy and work stress and people having to work longer hours and all that sort of thing. So there is a lot more stress involved. But, yeah, if you don't – and people would know. If you haven't had a good night's sleep, you've had a terrible night's sleep, you wake up and you do feel real foggy in the head. Cognitively, you're not as sharp, and that's really because it is seriously impacting physically impacting your brain. And
it flows on. Lack of sleep increases your appetite, so you end up – and you don't crave broccoli and steak. No. You crave shit food, most of it. Yeah. But also it means that you're too tired to go to the gym. Why don't you exercise? I'm too tired. Why? I was up all night doing something. It's like – and so it flows on. Yeah. Oh, why don't you go for a walk? Oh, no, just go down, lie down, have a nap. Or worse still, they just go sit there in front of television like zombies because they don't have any energy to do the stuff that'll help their, and we'll talk about exercise later for the brain. But I mean, it's a flow-on effect. Yeah. And you end up, craving stimulants and sugars and all this sort of stuff. It's a nightmare situation.
It is, yeah. So sleep deprivation seriously negative effects on the brain.
Oh, God. Yeah. Now the third one here I've got here that I want you to talk about largely is poor diet. I mean, we all talk about eating healthy nuts in here and fruit, and we got access to healthy bars and all this crap. But the average pundit out there doesn't eat well because, most Australians are overweight. So whatever they're doing, it's not working for them.
That's right. Yeah. The weight issue is becoming more and more of a problem.
Huge.
Despite the information out there. So what is it? And, a lot of it could go back to chronic stress, which then creates sleep deprivation, which is impacting our brain health, which is making us have poorer decisions when it comes to our nutrition. Yeah. All that sort of thing. So it's a really flow-on effect from a lot of these factors.
Yeah. And, I can't bother cooking tonight, I'll just get takeaway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't have time to cook. I get that a lot. I don't have time to cook. How can I eat healthy? All the time. Because people are working 12, 14-hour days. And they go, what can I make that takes 2 seconds? Or what can I buy that's at least semi-healthy? I'm like, well, it's really challenging. So poor diet. But, diet's high in sugar and unhealthy fats. They can cause a lot of inflammation. And we did talk about it in the podcast yesterday, which may have come out, about how sugar impacts our brain. Oh. And, can obviously there's a condition now called type 3 diabetes, which is Alzheimer's disease. Yep. And that's a lot of times driven by sugar, high sugar and chronic sugar intake and, refined carbohydrates and things like that. So, again, not only is it creating a weight issue, it's actually hurting your brain.
Hurts your brain.
Literally
I know. People think of sugar and teeth and getting fat, but they don't think of shrinking your brain.
No.
And you've got to remember sugar is really bad for your brain because people say, oh, your brain needs sugar to live. It's like, yeah, it can feed off sugar, but you don't need to have it in a candy bar or, in a soft drink. It's not that sugar your brain's up. You can live very happily without junk food. Trust me. You can live longer. Yeah. And we're talking about Brian Johnson. Doesn't he? Yes. His brain's fine. But it's like also your brain can feed off fats. It doesn't. But also your body can make sugars.
And it does make sugars. So it makes its own sugars.
We know the Inuits can eat, a carnivore diet. There's people online, and I follow a few of them now that just eat carnivore diet, lion diets and all that sort of stuff. And the thing about that is that their brains are okay. In fact, their mental health improves. And that's because there is an essential fatty acid, there is an essential amino acid, but there's no essential carbohydrates.
No. And funnily enough, the body can still make sugar from the protein. So I have seen in clinic quite a few times people who maybe are eating too much protein, but I don't eat complex carbohydrates or refined carbohydrates or sugars, but my insulin's shooting up. What's going on? They're eating a lot of protein, and there's something called gluconeogenesis.
Yes.
And then that's the body's converting that to sugar because you have an excess. Yeah. So it's still going to utilise it. The body's very smart. You can't out-hack the body.
No, we can't.
Processes.
But I mean, there's a lot of debate online about all this sort of stuff, but there's no debate about junk food. No. I mean, you can talk about carnivore diets, paleo diets, but they're refined carbohydrates and sugars like, we just had Halloween, and there was, I mean, you go to the shops and I'm gobsmacked by how much sugar is there, and I don't buy any of it.
No.
I did buy some for some kids, and what they didn't eat, I bought in here because I don't eat it.
Yeah.
But it's like people eat a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
It's tons of it. And we're in this bubble here where we're naturopaths, and we don't think about it, but it's really important. And also things like trans fats in margarine.
Yes, that's the other big thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're having refined carbohydrates, like a lot of people have sandwiches with margarine on it.
Yeah, I can't believe margarine's still even around.
Oh, yeah.
People still use margarine.
Well, it's probably I like to think of it in thirds. A third of people who are healthy and conscious of their health, third are sort of healthy, and there's a third that just don't really care.
Yeah, that's
They
true.
sort of look at they use one number, like, say, their weight or something. Oh, I'm not super overweight, so I don't need to worry about my diet. And instead of thinking about it from a health point of view.
Yeah.
And, trans fats are horrendous for the brain.
They are terrible, yeah.
And so are seed oils and all this sort of stuff. And here we are. There's people who eat that like, and forget pizzas and takeaway and McDonald's. People eat that all the time too.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's a poor diet. And I am going to talk about some brain foods.
Oh, yeah. We're just hearing yelling in the background.
We've got noises in the next wall.
Someone's like in their brain.
So if you hear yelling, I don't know what that's
It's not us.
Going through. So I'm going to talk about some really good brain foods and studies behind why they are so good for the brain when we talk about solutions.
Yeah.
So hang out for some good, good brain foods.
Don't stop this podcast in halfway through, or you're going to.
No, you miss out on all the good stuff at the end,
Yeah.
all the actions you can take to improve your brain health.
Now, this one's really interesting, social isolation.
Yes, this one's, again, getting more and more significant. And again, we spoke about this in yesterday's podcast that we recorded as well. Post-pandemic, there's a lot more isolation. A lot more people are working from home, and a lot more people are really just utilising, the internet for so many different things. And so that social connection is really dropped off a lot.
Dramatically.
Yeah.
But social isolation has been shown to lead to depression and lead to brain changes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely remarkable that's a real problem. But I mean, we've got another one here about excessive alcohol consumption. But don't worry about that one because that's obviously bad for your brain.
That shrinks the brain region.
But the next one, lack of physical exercise.
Yeah.
I mean, people think physical exercise for your muscles in your arms and that, but it's very good for your brain.
Yeah, very good for your brain.
Even like when you exercise at a high intensity, you release brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, which is a fantastic thing. It literally physiologically grows your brain. And the runner's high that we experience when we run, and it's getting harder with the heat, but I went for a run a couple of days ago, and the hardest part about running is starting.
Yeah.
And then when you get going, it's okay, I'm into this now. And you get the chemicals in the brain, you get the endorphins, that sort of stuff. But it physiologically grows your brain. So all right, it's good for your muscles, heart, and all that crap that we're not talking about today. But it's great for your brain as well. It actually physiologically grows your brain. Yes, it pumps nutrients through your brain, but you've got to exercise.
Yeah. The blood flow obviously helps with circulation to the brain and transporting those nutrients to the brain. And sedentary lifestyles have been shown to actually cause brain atrophy. Yeah. Again, so shrinking the brain. So exercise super important for your brain aside from anything else that people don't think about.
Like I don't want to get too controversial here, but if you don't exercise, and there has been a rise in ADHD recently with kids, and if they're not going through any intense enough exercise, the way that they get their chemicals moving in their brain is they prescribe them amphetamines. So, and that's not me. That's not me being. That's literally.
I've had a very close friend that's literally had that happen. to their child. So,
and because they're inactive, they're not moving dopamine through to noradrenaline and adrenaline. So the amphetamine settle them down because they get it more balanced.
That's right.
And it's kind of like, oh, dear.
I know.
So, it's quite incredible. And here's another one, Nic, for your brain. Around 75% of your brain is water, but your brain's made of water. So dehydration, so not drinking enough.
Yeah.
And also, like we were commenting on the temperature in this room before, but we're in air conditioning comfort now, and it's dehydrating.
Yes.
And every time I do a podcast, I bring a drink in just to keep the liquid going because I'm spitting it out, talking basically, and I'm evaporating. So
you're evaporating,
and I'm evaporating. Moisture's coming off me all the time. So that's a really important one too. And also we're having diuretics a lot, and we're not drinking enough water.
Yeah,
it's a very old naturopathic one, but
I mean, and you see someone who's dehydrated, their thinking is slow, their cognition is impaired, they're tired, they can't think straight, they can't remember things properly. And that's because that dehydration is really impacting your actual brain function.
I know, it's crazy.
So don't think about, that it's, I'm, affecting my kidneys and things like that.
Yeah.
Well, what about your brain?
Yeah, of course.
And that's a really common, we talked about it. I think we did a hydration or water podcast not long ago. And it's a really common problem. People are chronically dehydrated. They're just not they're drinking every day. They're just not drinking anywhere near enough. So they're still dehydrated. So if you are really tired and you can't think straight and your memory's not right and you're trying to get your work done and you got the brain fog, well, drink some more water if you're not drinking enough. That generally makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. I've got on here skipping breakfast, but we call it skipping meals and that sort of thing. If you're something's going on and you're too busy and all that sort of stuff, you skip meals. And if you're prone to blood sugar problems, and people shouldn't be prone to blood sugar problems, you can sort of address that a little bit by having different diets. But when you have alternating, like let's say I had a big lunch of pasta, which is full of carbohydrates turned into sugar. I get a massive sugar high and it drops away. And that dropping of sugar gives you brain fog and all that.
Yeah, we talked about it so often with blood sugar regulation throughout the day. And if you are somebody who skips a meal and really gets, those sugar drops and the shakes and that sort of thing, then you have to look at your metabolic health is really can be quite poor.
Sure.
So you really need to look at that underlying thing. So you should be able to go overnight, definitely 12 to 14 hours without really without trying.
Oh yeah.
And then 4 to 5 hours between meals, you should be able to go really quite easily. And if you can't, I can't, I'm getting a headache or I'm getting really fatigued or I'm shaky, then metabolically your health isn't really where it should be. So you really need to look at that. But yeah, that. And those blood sugar spikes and drops have a really negative impact on the brain.
Jeez. I mean, we got a few others here too, but very quickly also ignoring mental health. And also there are certain medications that are taken for mental health that adversely affect your brain too.
Yes, yeah.
But Nic, that's all great and all good, and everyone's depressed now, Nic. But so we want to fix our brain, Nic. We really want to fix our brain.
Yeah. So some of those things might sound really obvious, but there are a lot of things that I see a lot of clients do all the time. They're not sleeping well, or they have a lot of stress, which is a huge one. They're not eating as well as they should be. They're having lots of blood sugar spikes and dips, things like that, maybe not drinking enough water. They're super busy, so they're not moving their body enough. So all these things might sound simple, but they're very common problems and issues that people are dealing with, and that's significantly impacting their brain health and their brain structure and function. And long-term, these things in a chronic state is causing a lot of long-term damage to the brain, which we don't want.
Oh, shocking.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of like, okay, so all right, Nic, let's assume that I'm stressed because I've got money problems or terrible relationship, which I haven't. I've got a lovely wife.
Yes, you do.
Hey, Beck, how you doing out there? But let's just assume you've got the average Joe six-pack, stressed because of bad life due to excess work, and they've got anxiety, they've got worry, they've got insomnia and all that. So that can't be fixed by nutrients, but what nutrients can help our brain to make us more resilient to the stresses that we always encounter in our life? What are some of the nutrients that or some of the suggestions you've got?
Okay, so I'm going to going to start with some brain foods.
Whee!
I think that's something anybody can do, and they don't have to go out and find supplements and things.
Brain food sounds good.
So I'm going to start with brain food, and then I am going to talk about some nutrients and specific herbs that are really beneficial for the brain, some that cross the blood-brain barrier, work really well. So I'm going to get to all the really cool stuff.
Okay.
But I'm going to talk about food first because, as I said, it's a super easy thing. Anyone can do it.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
So the first food is fatty fish.
Fatty fish.
We all kind of know fatty fish.
So omega-3s we're talking here?
Omega-3, so salmon, trout, sardines, mackerel, those types of fish. You don't want the long-lived fish because they're higher in mercuries, things like that. But those really oily fish are very good, higher in omega-3s.
Sardines and all that.
Yep. And if you're a vegan, you can have things like flax seeds, chia seeds, hemp seeds, algae, things like that to get some omega-3s. They're not as bioavailable and they're not as assimilated as well in the body, but they're definitely still beneficial.
Yeah, right. We're talking gamma-linolenic acid. It's an omega-3, and that gets turned into, we'll call them fish oils.
Yes.
EPA, DHA.
Yeah.
But particularly docosahexaenoic acid, DHA, is really good for the brain.
Yeah.
And your body can make it out of those, but you're right. Having it straight away is a good way to have it.
Yeah, it's a good way to have it. So omega-3s,
that's a good one. Yeah.
So omega-3s are vital for constructing the membranes of the brain cells, so the neurons in the brain.
Yeah, that's important.
They provide fluidity and flexibility to cell membranes, which helps with that connection, communication between the neurons.
Sure.
And then DHA specifically. So it's particularly important for the structure of the neurons, as I said, and then key structural component of cerebral cortex.
Wow.
And that's the area that's responsible for cognitive functions,
Yes.
like memory, attention.
That's our higher human, more humans have got large cerebral cortexes.
Yeah.
Cortex is the covering.
Exactly.
So adrenal cortex is the covering of the adrenal. Medulla is the middle part. So
Yeah.
So all right. So eat more fish, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Supplementation. Would you supplement with fish oils?
Yes, I would supplement with fish oils. I do
love
supplement with fish oils a lot. It's probably one of the things I do recommend a lot. The reason being, a lot of people don't like fish. So there's that. It's expensive now. So to buy salmon, it's over $100 a kilo. So
Really? Where are you getting salmon from?
Well, that's where it is. I go to the fishmonger. He doesn't stock it anymore because he said it's too expensive at the moment. So I don't buy salmon anymore. I used to eat salmon a lot.
Wow.
So there's that. There's the heavy metal and the toxins in the fish that a lot of people are worried about. And then, they say, well, what about the fish oil that's coming from the fish, right? So there's specific fish oils that I will prescribe, and only a few brands that I will prescribe because they're very pure. They've been tested. So you'd be really careful, and we've talked about this before, where you source your fish oils from.
Yeah.
You know, the big bucket you get from the chemists that have got 300, 400, 500 capsules in them, and they think, oh, great price. Don't go for those. They're usually really poor quality.
Yeah, just poor quality.
And quite toxic.
Yeah.
So really good quality fish oils, I think, is really beneficial obviously for the brain, and for, so many other areas of the body, cardiovascular as well,
joints
joint
and
health,
crap like that.
inflammation.
Yeah, and good for your lipids and all that. It's funny because fish oils are one of the best things you can do to reduce your blood lipids.
That's right.
So especially triglycerides, which is the bad fat in the blood.
Exactly. So fish oil, really super, super important, really good for children, for the development of their brains in young children.
Yep.
So really, really, really beneficial. So a fish, I usually say 3 to 4 times a week if you can do it. If you don't want to take supplements, at least 3 to 4 times a week. But then finding that good quality fish is difficult. So if you can't do that, fish oil supplementation. Fish oil's
good.
Really
so that'll help with your brain, that sort of thing. It's really good.
The next one is anthocyanin-rich foods, Steve.
Okay, so anthocyanin means
anthocyanins. They're an antioxidant. They're a type of flavonoid, and they are very good for the effects of oxidative stress, inflammation, aging, all of that sort of thing. So where do you get your anthocyanins from, Steve?
Cyanin is a colour, so it's going to be a colouring thing. So absolutely. So
black foods, purple foods, red foods, they're really high in these anthocyanins.
We did a podcast called Eating the Rainbow, but that was part of it.
Oh,
so it was kind of like a good colouring one. But go on. So what foods are we talking?
The darker and the more rich colours, the better. Yep. So obviously blueberries, blackberries, raspberries and strawberries as well. black beans, black currants, black olives, black rice.
Even rice, yeah.
Cherries as well.
Yep.
So ones that are really, really high are the berries, that type of thing.
The dark-coloured berries.
The dark-coloured things, red currants, red grapes, so red onions. So whenever I shop for my groceries, when I get onions and I get cabbages and things like that, I always get the red ones.
Yeah.
Not like the brown onions, I get the red ones, the red cabbage. The colourful, most colourful of the varieties, even carrots. I will get purple carrots if they're available, as well as orange carrots, purple sweet potato and orange sweet potato. So I try to get the most colourful of that. Even potatoes, you can get the red skin potatoes.
Oh, yeah.
I always get the red skin potatoes because they're just higher in antioxidants, and these really dark coloured ones, vibrant ones, are really high in the anthocyanins. So as I said, they're a powerful antioxidant, so they reduce oxidative stress. So that oxidative stress, as we said, can damage the brain, the neurons.
Yep.
So it helps to protect that by providing that antioxidant.
All right. So all these coloured things we see at the grocer, absolutely. That's really good.
Yeah. They enhance blood flow to the brain.
Yep.
They support memory and learning.
Yeah.
They protect against the amyloid plaque formation.
Ooh.
We had our podcast yesterday was on Alzheimer's disease, where amyloid plaques come into play. So these high anthocyan-rich foods can really help protect against those plaque formation.
All right.
Improves mood, memory, and reduces mental fatigue as well.
Yep, and it's serotonergic too.
Yep, exactly. Yep. So, and anthocyanin is also available as a supplement. So this one I recommend getting it through food because you're also getting the benefits of the whole foods.
Yeah.
But you can supplement the anthocyanin if you want an actual extra boost.
They're usually marketed as oligoproanthocyanidins.
Yeah.
So that's but that oligo means many. But okay. So what else? Okay, so you got the berries. What can I have for breakfast that'll help my brain because I need it for the day?
Well, this is your favourite, Steve.
What is it? Tell me.
Eggs.
Hey, I love eggs.
I think everyone knows about eggs, but specifically for brain health, they're really, really important. So very high in choline. So so it's the egg yolk specifically that has all the goodness in it.
Good, yep.
But egg whites obviously is great for the protein hit as
well.
You
remember proteins are made from amino acids, and amino acids make neurotransmitters. A lot of people I don't know if people understand that the tryptophan makes serotonin.
Yeah.
Tyrosine makes dopamine and noradrenaline.
Yeah.
And choline in eggs makes acetylcholine. Yeah. The name would suggest. So all these chemicals in our brain are made from proteins.
Yeah, and that's a lot of times when people that I see that have a lot of, cognition issues, mood imbalances, things like that, methylation issues, that sort of thing. And they say, well, I'm eating lots of protein, but they're not breaking it down very well, so they're not digesting it well. And then you can have some people who follow a plant-based diet who maybe it's not balanced, so they're not making sure they're getting their amino acids in there. So therefore, they're missing out on being able to make these neurotransmitters, which is super important.
Well, there's 8 or 9 that we need to eat, not every day, but we need to eat in our diets. And if you're lacking them, you're going to run into big problems. They're called essential amino acids, not amino acids you could take every now and again. They're an essential amino acid.
Yeah,
exactly.
They are.
Absolutely.
So choline's a precursor to acetylcholine, which is a neurotransmitter and neuromodulator. So that's essential for cognitive function, cognitive processing. So that's super important, very good for memory as well. So dietary choline intake is linked to better memory performance and cognitive function.
Yep.
And important for brain development during pregnancy. So when I don't see pregnant women anymore, I don't do fertility or pregnancy. If anyone come and see me for that, because it's not my area anymore.
It's a
very hard area because there's a lot involved in it.
Yeah.
But if I was treating a pregnant lady or helping her through a pregnancy or pre-pregnancy care, choline is really important. And generally in the 2nd to 3rd trimester, you add the choline because, women that say, I can't remember anything, I've got that baby brain.
Baby brain, yeah.
That's lack of choline and that's acetylcholine. So you need to replace that. So really important for brain development of the baby during pregnancy.
Geez, that's good. What else has got in it?
B vitamins, Steve.
B vitamins, yeah, of course.
So we know how the importance of B vitamins for so many different things: methylation, cardiovascular health, all that sort of thing, and mental clarity.
Oh, yeah. Yes,
so these help with the production of neurotransmitters, so things like serotonin, dopamine, GABA.
Yep.
So B6, B12 and folate.
Nice.
And then they help to reduce if you have high homocysteine levels.
Homocysteine is a toxic amino acid that's made from methionine and cysteine.
Yeah.
And so B vitamins regulate that back to methionine, which helps your brain as well.
Helps your brain, and it helps with cognitive decline and reduces the risk of Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah, got my mother on those B vitamins specifically.
Take my Bs every day.
Yeah, so do I.
They provide antioxidants and neuroprotection. So they have antioxidants called lutein and zeaxanthin as well.
They're the really powerful antioxidants. I love them.
Yeah, they're a type of carotenoid, so they're really good for eye health, but they have neuroprotective effects as well.
Yep. So these are all in eggs.
All in eggs. Yeah, egg yolks.
So it's like you don't have to, people, listen to this podcast in their car or whatever going, oh, shit, what was that? I've got to take, what's that? Get the eggs.
Just eggs.
Just eggs.
They're like nature's little multivitamin.
Oh,
I
they
love
are.
them for that. Yeah.
Remember the whole protein scale used to be based on eggs too. So it's an exceptionally high source of protein. Weighs just, I think, 104 eggs or 100 in the scale. So
amazing.
Bloody good for you.
Yeah, they've got the healthy fats for the brain structure as well, as we talked about.
And people aren't worried about cholesterol anymore. Do you think? Do we need to talk about that again?
We've talked about it so many times. Unless you're a hyper responder, then
don't worry about it.
But otherwise, no, very, very healthy cardiovascular health and everything, but great for the brain.
Eggs.
So,
Can I chop up some green veggies in it?
Yeah, so this is what you should do, Steve.
Yes.
This is what I do. Cook up some eggs.
Yep.
And then saute off some greens with it, Steve.
Ooh.
Reason being, green leafy vegetables high in vitamin K, which is very good for cognitive health. Yeah, so they're one of the best.
For the bones and crap like that.
It is also for bones.
There you go.
Kale, celery, chard, spinach, all those really.
We used to remember in the first year it was like K for clotting, and it's like vitamin K for clotting, but because it was such a weird thing, K for clotting. Yeah, you remembered it.
Yeah, exactly. So really good for that.
It's good.
So really good for that, supporting brain health and the protection and the neurons and things like that. Antioxidants, they can prevent neuronal damage. So the antioxidants in those leafy greens are really good for that. Anti-inflammatory to protect any brain inflammation. So they reduce neuroinflammation. Support cognitive function by lowering levels of inflammation as well.
Nice.
Folate, Steve, neurotransmitter, the synthesis and cognitive function.
So not folic acid.
Not folic acid, folate. Folate. And then they've also got lutein and zeaxanthin as well. So those really amazing antioxidants.
Yep. Wow.
Yeah, and then those enhanced cognitive function all around. So your greens. So get your eggs and your greens.
All right.
And have your berries. First, maybe you can have your berries in a smoothie if you can have a smoothie instead.
That's what the wife does.
Yep. So a really easy way to get these really amazing nutrients, brain-loving nutrients.
Well, that's pretty cool. All right, so we've got nice foods there and all that sort of stuff. But what about specific supplements? What would you recommend for brain health?
Well, creatine is one of my favourites.
Hang on. Stop the play. Creatine, that's for building my muscles, isn't it? Isn't that for going, taking to the gym and doing buddy, doing an old Ronnie Coleman out in there?
Yes.
What do you mean it's for the brain?
It's for the brain. We all know creatine, so good for so many different things.
Yeah.
But creatine can cross the blood-brain barrier to a degree. So really good for that brain, for that cognition. And it's uses a lot of creatine. The brain does a lot of creatine. So you want to make sure you have good levels of creatine in there as well. So really, really good for brain, really, really good for brain health. That's one of my top ones.
Yeah.
Really good if you've had a traumatic brain injury, which I talked about earlier.
Yep.
Doesn't have to be anything super significant. It has got neuroprotective properties. It's really good, just overall so good for the brain.
So creatine, that's good. You get the Korea Pure stuff if you can. What about herbs? I know you love the herbs. What herbs have you got for the brain? Firstly, do they cross the blood-brain barrier?
Yes, some do cross the blood-brain barrier.
It's funny because I was telling you before and you were cringing at this about, we got a question, someone saying that herbs don't get absorbed, and it's like,
oh, yes.
That
makes me laugh so much.
It's like we're beyond that because we've seen that it helps people doing all sorts of things. And now we know it actually doesn't just get in the body, it gets into your brain.
Yeah.
We've done, tracing and seen these sorts of things. So there's herbs across the blood-brain barrier and get in the brain. But what herbs have you got for my brain?
Ginkgo, Steve. Ginkgo's a really good one.
That's the old tree. That's big leafy green.
It's one of the oldest plants in the world.
yeah.
It's been around for thousands and thousands of years. It's amazing. So ginkgo has been shown to cause reversible increase in blood-brain barrier permeability.
Nice.
So it can actually help to cross over that blood-brain barrier and repair it.
Wow.
So a really amazing brain herb, and I think with so many people would associate ginkgo with memory and things like that.
It is.
Amazing actions.
Yep.
Inhibits platelet aggregation.
You don't want
enhances
platelets.
vasodilation in the brain.
You'll get more circulation to your brain.
Circulation, oxygenation, which increases nutrition to the brain, that sort of thing. Has antioxidant effects as well.
Wow.
Ginkgo, amazing.
I love it.
Love it.
It's funny because my dad wanted something, there's one thing to say. I love him to take a million things, but one thing for his brain, I just said ginkgo.
Yeah.
It's like there's like the safe pair of hands.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of others. I love it. Yeah. Okay, what else you got for my brain?
Phosphatidylserine.
Wee, it's a big word.
Phosphatidylserine.
Phosphatidylserine.
Yeah, so it's a phospholipid. So it's a major phospholipid in brain tissue.
Yeah.
Phosphatidylserine. So it plays a role in structurally healthy nerve cell membrane and myelin.
Yep.
So helps with the brain's biochemistry, physiology, and function. It's I used to use phosphatidylserine quite a bit in
Very
clinic.
popular a few years ago.
I don't use it as much now. It can be quite expensive.
Yeah.
It's really good at reducing cortisol.
Cortisol.
As well. Cortisol
It was a
as well.
cortisol blunter when we were training, but also it's an acetylcholinesterase inhibitor, so you get more acetylcholine in the brain.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. So
it's a good one.
Acetyl-L-carnitine is the next one, Steve.
Oh, that's for fat loss, isn't it?
Can be for fat loss, yeah.
Wow. And you said acetyl-L-carnitine. What does acetylization do to amino acids?
So it's a rate-limiting precursor for acetylcholine, Steve. Which is a neurotransmitter, which we talked about with eggs as well in the central nervous system.
Nice.
So acetyl-L-carnitine, really great for the brain.
Yeah.
Really, really great. Luteolin, as we said, very good anti-inflammatory. It's an antioxidant.
Yep.
So it can protect age-related memory loss.
Oh, shit. Hang on. Better write that down so I'll forget that one.
Yeah. Here's one that people may know for the brain, lion's mane.
It's funny. Lion's mane is getting a bit of attention lately with all the data. What's that do for you?
So there's a lot of studies that show that it's cyanthine diterpenoids.
Terpenoids, yep.
Usually cross the blood-brain barrier.
Yep. Terpenoids do.
By means of passive diffusion.
Passive diffusion, yep.
And then they support extensive use of this medicinal mushroom for its neurological benefits.
It's a really good one for the brain.
Conditions.
Really good one.
So really, really good one for the brain. Good for brain fog, cognition issues and things like that. So I find that a really good one.
Yeah.
Here's another one everyone would know is Bacopa.
Bacopa helps you cope.
Bacopa. So this one also crosses the blood-brain barrier.
Yep.
Helps to contribute to cognition enhancing activities. So it's a really, really good one as well for memory. I mean, that one's been around for a long time.
It's an old one, but it's a goodie, and hopefully if people are sort of looking at these herbs and you're looking at, you're going, because there's lots of brain supplements at even at pharmacy, and you look at them and go, which one's good for me? You look for these nutrients because these are the ones that have been tested.
Yeah, definitely. Here's a really good one that I have been using a lot more in clinic.
Oh, yeah.
I did mention this one yesterday. It's pomegranate.
Pomegranate,
for so many different reasons.
Oh, yeah.
So it contains urolithins.
Urolithins,
if people are into longevity, that comes up a lot with longevity.
Good one for exercise too. This is a good one.
So, it contains ellagic acid, Steve, which is a really significant anti-inflammatory compound for the gut.
Yeah.
And really good for the gut microbiome. And we all know the gut-brain axis is really significant. So this also can cross the blood-brain barrier.
Yep, been shown too, yep.
Yep, has neuroprotective effects. And it also prevents those amyloid plaques.
Those awful plaques that plaque your brain up.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is good. This is a good treatment for
disease.
Alzheimer's. It's also a good treatment for just any sort of brain dysfunction.
And then the gut, it has a really positive impact on the gut. It helps with reducing inflammation in the gut, can kill off E. coli's, overgrowth, particular E. coli's and things like that. And we all know that if you have a lot of dysbiosis, then it's impacting those sort of bidirectional
Sure.
pathway up and back from the brain.
Yeah.
So pomegranate's a really good one. Rosemary.
Because love flows with my rosemary. Because rosemary is good for an essential oil too.
Yes, it is. I used to burn a rosemary when trying to learn something.
Yeah.
It's for that, that clarity and cognition.
I remember when I was studying naturopathy, rosemary oil was quite common. You put it on your pillow at night so it would help your brain overnight.
Yeah.
I don't know if it helped.
Yeah.
Now we use lavender.
I use lavender at night time because it helps with, relaxation. Whereas rosemary is more stimulating.
Yeah.
So you might have kept up all night.
Probably did, but I was a young idiot back then. We were staying up all night playing music, picking up chicks in service.
Exactly. So there's a compound in it called carnosic acid.
Carnosic acid, yep.
Yeah, so that's a considerable has neuroprotective activities.
But has it been found across the blood-brain barrier?
It does cross the blood-brain barrier. So many
major words, yeah.
That's a really good one as well. And then we have our nootropic herbs. So go to cola, which is one of my
I love that one. Yeah.
We talked about that yesterday. Rhodiola, really great as well. Schizandra, again, one of my favourites. So that can be really good as well. And then saffron is another really good brain herb. Really, really good for neuroinflammation, ADHD, that type of thing. So,
it is.
So there's some amazing.
There was a study, and I haven't got it with me, but I remember talking about it in a saffron podcast we did, where you give 30 milligrams of saffron compared to 40 milligrams of Prozac, and they were equivalent with each other for depression.
Yes, so it's for mild to moderate depression. They've shown that saffron actually is as effective as SSRIs and things like that.
Yeah,
so
remarkable.
Really amazing. So saffron it's a bit more expensive, but it's
just a bit.
It's so fantastic for the brain. So that's some really good herbs that actually cross the blood-brain barrier and do their work really, really well. And then just general nutrients can help with neural function. So things for antioxidant support, so CoQ10.
Yep.
We talked about that. Bilberry. I love bilberry. I take bilberry every day, actually.
Do you?
Yeah, it's really good for the microvascular, so any sort of vascular.
The eyes and stuff, do you?
Yeah, and then the brain vascular.
Wow, okay.
In the brain. Pomegranate, as I said. Grapeseed is a really good antioxidant.
Really?
Really, really good antioxidant. Not grapeseed extract, different. Yeah, so if you're going to don't go out and buy grapeseed extract. It'll decimate your gut microbiome.
Yeah, it tastes like shit.
Grapeseed is different.
Yep.
For cell membrane structure and fluidity, Steve, inositol.
Oh, yeah.
And then the phosphatidylserine.
Phosphatidylserine,
So neuroprotection and neuroregeneration.
Ooh, hang on. We want that.
We want that, don't we? So
what helps me with that?
Vitamin A.
Vitamin A, the much maligned vitamin A.
Vitamin A does so many amazing things. I think it's a really underrated nutrient that we probably
It's the first vitamin discovered.
Yeah, really good for thyroid function. It's a really good antioxidant, obviously.
Hormones, I remember. Mucous membranes, it's good for immune systems.
Yeah.
Geez, it's sort of fallen out of favour because, women who are pregnant shouldn't take too much of it. But even that, you can take some of it. But it's not.
I think the upper limits now, they're saying
used to be 5,000 I use. What is it now?
75,000 now. And
75,000. You see,
up and up and up.
So
they've shown that it's a lot safer. And there's also form matters. Would go back and listen to the podcast.
It got a bad rap because synthetic vitamin A, otherwise known as Roaccutane, has a terrible sort of side effects. So I think it got a bad name there. But vitamin A, really good for you.
Really, really great. And taurine. The amino acid taurine. I love it. So many things. So it's really good for neuroprotection, neuroregeneration, as we said. Really good for the central nervous system, really good for cardiovascular health, so many things. But taurine's great. I love taurine for so many different things.
It's found in your eggs too, quite high. Taurine's an amino acid found in animal proteins pretty much exclusively. You can make it, but it's better to eat it. Yeah,
definitely. I do prescribe taurine quite a bit.
Oh, okay.
Neurotransmission, so glycine.
Glycine, that's a nice sedating one.
Yeah, I love glycine. Taurine again. So I do pair taurine and glycine together sometimes as well.
Good.
Calcium, Steve.
Calcium, eh?
B6, zinc.
Yep.
Second messenger, so inositol again.
Yep.
And then mitochondrial function, because mitochondrial function or dysfunction will impact brain health
Yep.
as well. So we need to make sure our mitochondria are nice and healthy. So obviously your B vitamins, CoQ10, magnesium, really important there as well.
Just drink some magnesium.
We did drink some magnesium, exactly. So there is so much that you can do for your brain.
So the first thing, just to summarize this whole thing, is prevent those lists we gave you at the start. Exercise.
Yeah.
Try not to stress as much. Try and sleep better. Try and blah, blah, blah. Okay, and that's all. Let's say they can't do, there's still some that they can't do there. That's when you start with the foods and nutrients, the eggs, the berries, the oligoparanthocyanidins, those foods to protect the brain from the damage you're doing to it.
That's right.
Basically, I know it sounds like stop doing the damage, but people can't.
No.
People in the real world, I've got to get up every night and do this, whatever, or can't sleep because I'm stressed about, whoever. So, and if it's getting to a point, look at those herbs that cross the blood-brain barrier. Look at those herbs, especially if you're aging and those sort of things, and then get specific about those nutrients you just talked about.
Yeah.
And that's how to protect your brain.
So many options. And it's super important because we all know if you don't, your brain's impacted, it impacts your whole life.
That's it. Yep.
You really want to really look after your brain. It's super important. So
it's kind of important.
Don't really think about it as much because, we don't sort of feel it when the brain, other than symptoms like this, but we don't put enough, importance on the brain health.
I agree with
about
you.
our gut health and all the other things, but the brain
People worry about their skin, how it looks more than their brain.
Yeah.
People spend thousands on skincare stuff and don't do anything for their brains.
No, that's right.
That's kind of weird.
They do the wrong things for their brains.
They do the wrong things for their brains.
So, yeah.
Nick, that's incredible. But I think you've helped people who are in that situation where they are stressed or can't sleep, whatever those things. And this will help them protect them, get them through it till they can get their brains healthy again, start exercising and looking after it with good food.
And it's interesting because we're about to finish, but it's interesting because if you can't sleep and you have high stress that are impacting your brain, and then you're taking, look at these supplements for brain health, a lot of them are, support the central nervous system. So they're helping to reduce cortisol. They're actually improving sleep. So your glycines and things like that, phosphatidylserines, and then your really calming herbs as well. So they're actually having, multiple effects in the body. So they're sort of helping the thing that's causing the impact on your brain, and then they're helping the brain as well. So,
geez, Nick,
that's really good.
Incredible. All right, Nick, well, that's about all we've got time for, but thanks for that, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Steve-o.
Hi. Hey, how are you?
Good.
FAQs. FAQs. It always sounds like a swear word when you say FAQs, but it's not. So we've got FAQs. We've got two here. So I want to read one. Oh, it's one today, isn't it? Oops. Two. Okay, good. All right, I didn't know whether to do it. Okay. So anyway, this is the FAQ, and I'll read it out to you. I've been struggling with painful leg cramps at night for a while now. Ooh, that happens a lot. It happened to me in the past. I'll be sound asleep, then suddenly wake up with an intense cramping, mostly in my calves, and it takes a few minutes to ease up. I jump out of bed and stretch the bloody thing. It's gotten so bad that it's starting to affect my sleep quality. I'm feeling exhausted during the day. Ooh. A friend mentioned it could be due to magnesium deficiency, but I'm not sure if it's accurate or if I should be looking into other possible causes. Could magnesium really help with this? And if so, what is the best way to take it? Are there certain types of magnesiums that work better for cramps and other natural remedies that I should consider? And that's from Kayla from the Sunshine Coast. Nick, cramps. I used to get them. I don't anymore for some reason. But what do we do?
Yeah, cramps. So can be a multitude of reasons why you're getting the cramps.
Yep.
It could just be that your electrolyte balance is out, low in magnesium, dehydrated, that type of thing. Could be medication driven. So if you're on any medications, have a look into that. Things like statins can be really common to have muscle cramping and things like that. So if you're on medications, have a look at the side effects that can come along with those and address that. If not, it could well be, yes, magnesium really good for muscle cramping, and it could be electrolyte balance. So getting some electrolytes in, not just magnesium, so your sodiums as well and your potassium to a degree, can be something that can be really beneficial as well. So there's some of the things that you could do. But magnesium, it can be great for cramps.
Really good for cramps. Yeah. And types of magnesium. You can take them in the evening too, like magnesium diglycinate, magnesium threonate, that really help you sleep and relax at night. So they will help you sleep as well as helping your cramps. And I always find mixed nuts and salts and that sort of thing, you find the four key minerals, calcium, magnesium, sodium and potassium. Yeah. So get into those nuts too.
Yeah, so give that a crack.
All right.
Excellent.
Good.
All right, we've got another one here. Yep. So Tony from Perth, Steve, I'll read this one out for you.
Female Tony, by the way.
Tony with an
makes
I.
a difference.
Hi, guys. Thanks for the podcast. I listen to them every week. Awesome. Nic, you mentioned apple cider vinegar in a recent podcast, and I seem to be seeing it everywhere now. I've tried adding it to my daily routine, but not sure if it's doing anything. How do I know if it's working, and are there any types? No, you probably can't mention brands that I should look for, or any that I should stay away from. I've seen them in capsule form, but I've also read these are not as effective. Any help would be appreciated. Keep up the great.
Oh, it's addressed to you, but you read it to me.
I know, and it's funny because I was just literally talking about this with someone this morning.
You were. There's a staff member here. I won't mention her name. I won't say it's a woman.
Yeah.
And she was just singing the praises of the advice you gave her about apple cider vinegar.
Yeah, she felt great after taking it.
And now let's just I'll let you sort of answer this one because this is right up your alley.
It is.
But apple cider vinegar contains acetic acid. Acetic acid is a short chain fatty acid that's made in the gut anyway. So it's got some really good benefits for you. But Nic, you were talking to your friend this morning about that. So what do you recommend? What's your take on it?
People listen to the podcast would know I talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
My clients would know I do talk about it a lot.
Yes.
The reason that I talk about it a lot is because, one, it's quite inexpensive to try. And it has so many health benefits, but I recommend it a lot for digestive dysfunction.
Right.
Also liver, gallbladder insufficiency or dysfunction as well, because it helps to, one, increase the acid in your gut. So it helps you to break down your foods better.
Literally is an acid.
It isn't literally an acid. So, and I think everyone's sort of aware now you have to find the one with the mother in it. That's the enzyme that does all the work.
Yes.
So if you wanted it just for blood sugar regulation, you can actually use any vinegar you like. But if you're wanting it, all the benefits, the antioxidants, anti-inflammatory impact, the impact on the digestive function, then the one with the mother is really good. I do see a lot of people taking it the wrong way.
Oh, what do you mean? How do you take it the wrong way?
I guess it depends what you're taking it for.
Up your nose? In your ear?
It would hurt. One thing I'll put in my ear, or up my nose for that matter. But if you take, most of the time I'm prescribing it for digestive dysfunction, constipation, blood sugar regulation, those types of things. So before food is really good because, one, it helps to increase the acid, as I said, to help to digest the food a little bit better. And it helps to balance your blood sugar if you have during that meal as well.
Yep.
And then throughout the day, before each meal, 5 to 10 minutes before each meal, it can really help with that digestive function. If you're taking it just for I'm going to do air quotes for the people listening, detox.
Yeah.
I don't. They take it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach and then move on. And so many people say, well, it hasn't done anything for me. Yeah. That's because if you have digestive issues or constipation, you've kind of got to take it throughout the day around meals is ideal. So try it that way. Don't ever take it neat. I have had people that just neck the bottle and it burns your esophagus.
God,
it's very strong. So take in a little bit of water, not mass water, but I usually say just a little shot glass of water and shot it. Capsule form, doesn't have the same impact. It takes a while for the capsule obviously to break down in the gut. It just doesn't work as well. Yeah. And also the gummies. People are taking these apple cider gummies now, and I'm like,
I've never heard of them.
Oh, I don't.
Full of sugar?
Full of sugar, and if they have no sugar in them, how much apple cider vinegar is in them really anyway?
Stupid.
Not much.
Expensive.
And it just doesn't work. So stick with the actual bottle, glass bottle, not a plastic bottle because it's an acid. So, but apple cider vinegar, amazing. It's an amazing, cheap, effective remedy for so many things.
Good, Nic. Thanks for that.
Great. Awesome.